So, John, you have said the pain is not me. And that's a really powerful statement. And there's so many people today who are feeling pain and suffering in their lives. How does mindfulness help people separate their suffering from their identity?
Well, the radical way is to just look at it deeply. Most people don't want to look at their suffering. That's get me out of here. I'll go to the movies, anything to distract me from the suffering. So, mindfulness is a kind of, as I said, a radical act of sanity and love. But part of the radical nature of it, and you'll know this from your work with the Navy SEALs, is you turn towards and move into what you most want to just run from.
Yes.
Okay. But you do it in a way that's actually loving. It's not trying to get a result. It's realizing that we're too attached to our narratives around results. And so let's just do it to investigate what is this stuff that's driving me crazy? And then you can ask very elementary questions. Is my awareness of my anger, for instance, if anger is the big thing in the moment, and you catch it right in the middle of some murderous impulse in your family. Is my awareness of my anger angry? It's never angry. The awareness is never angry. Well, why am I choosing to go with the anger rather than the awareness? Take another example is anxiety, because, and even if you scratch the surface of anger, what you're really going to find underneath is fear. It's always fear. So let's put the welcome mat out for our fear or our anxiety and just invite it into the present moment. How's it feel in your body? Where is it in your body? Is it in your jaw? Is it in your chest? Is it in your shoulders? Is it in your fists or fingers? And then you ask yourself that same question. Is my awareness of all this anxiety anxious? And the giveaway is you're going to find that it's never anxious. It's no, it is not. It's not anxious. And so that's a kind of, it's like you're reclaiming the territory that is your birthright, who you really are underneath your age, your name, your gender identification, all of that stuff. Who are you really can't be put into words. Maybe poets can do it. Maybe if you were a haiku poet, you could do it in 3 lines. But what if you turned your whole life into poetry? Then you wouldn't need the poetry. You'd be the poetry. And it's a love affair and it's infectious too. If you ever meet somebody, I've seen this a lot around the Dalai Lama, who had privilege to spend, a number of different occasions with pretty up close and personal. He can walk into a stadium with 100,000 people and people start crying. They can't even see him, but they know he's there and people will start crying. And why is that? I've always wondered, why is that? And it's not just because they have all sorts of projections about how perfect or wise he is. And especially if you actually are in a room with him, you say the thing is, when he looks at you, he really sees you because he sees past the story. Whatever the story is, there's the sense that he really feels me or sees me, and people can feel that even in a stadium. So it's a kind of really interesting example of how working on yourself in that way, in that kind of a meditative way for your entire life, is infectious. It touches other people. Sometimes it happens, and it's, I guess, why we do podcasts. Why are we doing a podcast? Why do you do lots and lots of podcasts? Well, hopefully, we're wagging our tongues and moving our lips and amazingly using our lungs to get air to go over our vocal cords in such a way that, in concert with the lips and the tongue, I'm actually shaping the air into sounds that my laptop is picking up and going to your laptop. It's going into their ears through their microphones or speakers, and they're decoding this sentence, and I don't even know how I'm doing it or where it's going to end. And it's like just one example of how miraculous it is to be human. When we developed language, and no one knows how that came about 60 or 70,000 years ago, it's thought that all of a sudden the human brain went through some major change. And then all of a sudden, through language. And language is much more related to thought than it is to conversation. It's like somehow once we thought arose at the same time as language in a certain way, and thoughts that led to other thoughts, so that this is an amazing superpower because then I can say to you, if we actually took that stick and we sharpened it and we put some feathers on the other end of it and we threw it, maybe it could actually get us dinner for our starving family. Or if we took some seeds and we put them in some soil that we dug up, that maybe we could have food for the next time we run out of meat. And that's how agriculture happened. But it couldn't happen without thought. And thought and language are totally related, just the way I'm wagging my in French, the word for tongue is long. So I'm wagging my tongue and creating all these vibrations, and we're all decoding them. Are you kidding me? This is like a miracle of miracle. Why do we have to kill each other over this? Why does it have to be us against us, me against you, or us against them, when we're all us? And one of the things that has been a marvel to me in terms of looking at this from the point of view of what the earth is going to need right now, no matter what, how, whether people want to deny climate change or not. The climate doesn't care. The planet doesn't care whether you deny climate change. The ocean's going to keep rising. The glaciers are going to keep melting. And there's going to be an enormous amount of suffering. But if you think about it for a moment, all the aerial photographs of what's happening with the glaciers and the polar ice caps melting, that's an extension of our senses. These military photo and satellite photographs of planet Earth, it's like a body scan, but not of your own body, but of the planet Earth. And what's happening to the rainforest? And rainforest in the 1930s, the 1940s, the 1950s, the 1960s, and now, and you see what's happening to the rainforest. If that were happening to your lungs, you'd be running to the hospital and asking for a cure. And there's no way to really repair lungs. You might get a lung transplant, but it'd be a very rare thing. So here we have the Amazon and the Congo, and we're losing the lungs of planet Earth. So this is all part of the mindfulness practice. Once we notice, we can't turn away from it. And from that point of view, just the last thing I'll say on this, because it blows my mind so much from an evolutionary point of view. So we're this like tiny little blue dot going around an insignificant sun in some completely like infinitesimally small area of the Milky Way galaxy. And that sun and the planets all they know just adhered from other suns material that from supernova and things like that in the formative years of the universe. And so the sun and the planets evolved together, and we happen to be at this just right Goldilocks distance. It's called not too hot, not too cold. Venus is way too hot, Mars is way too cold. And here we have this flourishing of life. And the way it happened is first the thermal vents under the ocean, where like heat is energy. So somehow chemicals figured out how to reproduce themselves and put membranes around themselves and become like organisms. And then they learned how that you don't get much energy from thermal vents and stuff like that. It's driving the metabolism on kind of chemistry. But at a certain point, somehow they managed to actually create receptors for sunlight. And now those receptors like have turned the entire planet green. And that green is chlorophyll, the molecule chlorophyll, which is what's called a porphyrin ring structure. If anybody remembers their basic chemistry, it's four porphyrin rings, and the porphyrin rings hold together an in the case of chlorophyll, a magnesium atom at the center of it. So magnesium atom comes out of stars exploding previously before our sun and stuff like that. So everywhere you look outside in green, that's the universe allowing planet Earth to capture energy from solar energy through this chlorophyll. Now, if you cut yourself, you bleed red, not green. But the hemoglobin structure is almost identical to the chlorophyll structure. It's four hemes. That's why it's called hemoglobin, is a big protein that holds the heme. And at the center of that, not a magnesium atom. an iron atom. And that's why we need iron. And that iron atom binds oxygen, which is how we get all the oxygen to every one of the trillions of cells in our body. You can't make this stuff up. This is like miraculous, beyond miraculous. And the periodic table of the elements, whether it's carbon or oxygen or phosphorus or all of these nitrogen and all of the sort of copper. We need all these micro, and now they're talking about the kind of rare earth elements. Nobody had ever heard of rare earth elements, but it's a big stretch of the periodic table in the middle because they use them in cell phones and in drones and all sorts of electronic stuff. So now all of a sudden, everybody's going to kill each other over rare earth elements, not realizing you're a rare earth element. You're a complete universe of rare earth elements, and they all come out of exploding stars. And this is so miraculous. Why would you commit auto suicide? Why would you commit planetary, global destruction of the species that is aware of all of this? So sooner or later, we're going to have to wake up. And the real question is it going to be sooner or is it going to be later? And what does later mean? Almost like too late. This is not separate from meditative awareness. This is meditative awareness because the awareness is more like space than anything else. If you think about the universe, this is what the physicists and cosmologists tell us. There's no center to the universe. It's hard to understand this, but there's no center, and it's continually expanding, and it's actually expanding exponentially. It's accelerating in its expansion, and there's no edge to it. There's no periphery to it. So, what do we know that's most like that? Awareness. Try to find the center of your own awareness right now. And anybody who's listening, where's the center of it? Don't know. Where's the edge of it? Don't know. It's more like space than anything else, and it's already you. I can't say yours because us claiming that it's mine, we don't even know how to use it. So why should we claim it? But the fact is, it's available to us. It's part of our, in some sense, our deepest nature. And so if we are a lot more like space and we're boundless, that's a lot in a certain, that's like the cat's meow. It's like, it doesn't get any better than this. In the religious traditions, you might call that divine or a kind of illuminated. We're merging with the divinity or the cosmic mystery or whatever it is. It's right here, right now. And it's not mysterious. It's just insanely beautiful. And if we're part of it, then maybe that comes with a certain kind of responsibility.